She loves herself with Jill Ritchie, showing you how to embrace vulnerability and unearth your power within.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of She Loves Herself, the podcast with me, your host Jill Ritchie. And again, we are in a wonderful collaboration season with Sarah Gregg and myself with the Intuitive Psychology Association, which is our incredible company. And we have brought these episodes together because there is so much wisdom and insights that we have to share with you. If you are not even a coach, but if you are someone who is interested in intuition and psychology and spirituality and shadow work, there is something here for you. And if you are a coach or you are training to become a coach, you're thinking about becoming a coach, then this is definitely for you. Especially if you're working with people, we are here to help you to deliver the most exceptional results for your clients who really not only need it but deserve it, and they deserve the best people, the best coaches that they're paying to work with. So Sarah, we have had a couple of amazing episodes so far and we've had amazing feedback about it. And today's episode, I hope, is not going to be an exception to that, because we're talking about midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis, or a midlife crisis stroke point in our life where we're kind of both over the age of 40, early 40s. We're not at the mid 40 point yet, right? But we have both been talking a lot recently. We thought it was really important to bring it to the podcast because we're hearing a lot from people who are at that point in their life where they're like, I'm kind of the second half of my life. I don't want to do what I've always done before. I feel different and I want to make a change. I don't want to live how I lived before. And maybe that served you in the past. So if you're someone at your life, you're in your 30s right now, your 40s, your 50s, and you're like, okay, I'm really grateful for everything that's happened to me in my past, but there's just this deep knowing in me that I do not want to continue the second half of my life the way I did with the first half.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. So you're normally the one to ask me a question first, so I'm gonna turn the tables a little bit and say, what's kind of been coming up for you then at this midlife point? I know, because we've had these conversations, but share a little bit about what changes are you experiencing, and what gift has kind of midlife crisis, or maybe it's more midlife clarity, kind of given to you in terms of how you're viewing the next half of life.
I actually love that midlife clarity that you've just said, because I think even hearing those words, it resonates so much more. But I think sometimes we need to feel we're at crisis before we actually do the work to get the clarity. And I was actually walking my dog this morning, Sarah, and I'd said this to you, but I'll share it. I was walking and I was just a couple of things that were really coming through for me. And I don't know if anyone else gets this. It comes for me when I'm either cooking or walking. I get the downloads. And it was almost this reminder of someone I used to be in a relationship with 22 years ago. And it was a serious relationship. But I thought, my goodness, that was 22 years ago when I was 22, which is half my life ago. And it was like, oh my goodness. And half of my life prior to 22, I was like 11 years old, which is to me as a child. And I thought, how quickly does life move? And then it led me on to my next thing that came through, which was a woman that my friend Lynette and I, about 5 years ago, she had ovarian cancer and she campaigned for ovarian cancer and raised loads of money. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, she passed away. And I remember thinking about her and how young she was, and she was younger than me. And I thought, wow, how special life is, and what a privilege it is to have a life. And I get that some people might listen to this and think, well, I'm not in good health. But what I'm talking about is a real honor and a privilege to actually have a life, because I don't think it's until you go through grief or something happens, that you realize things can just change in a heartbeat, change in an instant. Like, without sounding morbid, there's people that have probably gone out to work today that won't return. And I think they would never think that. Like, again, I was speaking to someone at a wedding who had lost her husband to COVID, and he was only 48. And she said him and her son, who was only like 9 at the time, they all got COVID. And her and her son got better, and he went really downhill. And within 3 weeks, she had to turn off his life support machine, and he was really healthy before it. And I always know, Sarah, when these things are coming up for a reason, because it's this reminder to me, and also to share this, that what a gift it is that you have a life, and we get in our way so much. And I believe that so often we just do not look after ourselves. And I know I'm so guilty of that. Just consuming crap, with what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, the amount of time I'm spending on my phone, and the damage that does over time. We don't realize in that moment, but it's like, when are you going to wake up and press the pause button and realize that you have all the cards, you have all the power? So even if you're feeling like crap, you have all the power. It's not outside of you. You have it, and you can decide, I'm going to make a change. And I think that people get stuck in the moment of, well, I can't, it's too much, because they're too busy thinking about all of the things that they need to do, instead of just taking it one step at a time, like doing one small thing every day. If you think one small thing every day towards your goal, or towards your health goal, whatever that is, that's 365 things over a year. That's huge. That is huge. But I don't realize in this moment that you have the power. Like, it's all on you. Like, no one has to or should make it happen for you. And I think when you realize that, it's like, I'm 44 right now. I need to make sure that this vessel, this body that I have, is as healthy as it can be. That I'm responsible for that, no one else.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for that. That's not Netflix's fault. That's not my phone's fault. That's on me. I'm choosing to put that food in my mouth. I'm choosing to take that alcohol or whatever that is. I'm choosing to pick up my phone. I'm choosing to watch that. And when you realize that, you're like, time to kick yourself up the butt, but also realize how bloody empowering that is. Because if it's all on you, oh my God, like, how amazing is that? How amazing is that?
I know. I think sometimes it's that. I know for me, from on like a personal level, often I can have that really strong intention. So I know that I have the choice as to what I eat and what I do and how I move my body. But often for me, it's like Monday syndrome. Like, I'll just do it on Monday, or it's an all or nothing perfectionism. Like, oh well, I've had a bad day, so I'll just stop now and I'll have a bad week. Or um, subconsciously kind of talking myself out of things. And this year, I think, the more work I've done on my shadow, and the more I've leaned into it, and the more I've really looked at this halfway point. This kind of keeps on coming up in our conversations and in my own life, which is, do I want to live the second half of my life the same as I did the first? So I don't regret anything much in my first half of life. I left nothing on the table. I would be the girl that would be out until like 5 or 6 in the morning, partying. I had the best time at university. Um, you know, I had a full life, struggles, hardships kind of like all melted in. But now that I'm at the second point, I think a lot of my behaviors in the first half of life were probably still choosing attachment over authenticity, but in a different way. So food for me and alcohol for me, um, And even if I'm fully honest, like a bit of a rejection over fitness sometimes is a way of feeling safe and belonging. And I'm going to give you an example. So I went to Glastonbury Festival recently, and I was sober the whole festival. I didn't drink like at all. I haven't actually had a drink in 3 months. I don't have a problem like with alcohol, but it hasn't been serving me. I haven't been feeling good even after like one or two drinks. It's kind of like my shortcut to shame. If I have like one glass of wine, I'll beat myself up the next day because maybe my sleep isn't as good, or maybe I am just tired by it. I attribute it, to the wine. And so I've just been listening to my body, not saying that I'm not drinking, not saying that I'm drinking. I'm just being really led like each moment. So anyway, I went to Glastonbury Festival and I signed up to a 5K run, which was probably one of my highlights of the festival, like just running around the festival site. And as I ran past along these kind of like dusty roads in the blazing hot, like Glastonbury sun, with all of these other crazy people who were up first thing in the morning, with their running gear on, I ran past and I heard this guy go, "What is wrong with people?" Like, what is wrong with people? And I laughed because I would have said the same thing. And in fact, I think so much of my connection came through, who gets up in the morning and goes to the gym, connecting through food and alcohol and kind of like being that person. And actually that's where I got my love, and that's where I got my belonging, and that's where I got my connection. And one of my midlife kind of crisis points has been to really look at what do I actually enjoy and how do I actually feel about the things that I'm doing. And when I've looked at alcohol, in particular as an example, and I don't know what this journey will look like, full transparency. Maybe I'll never drink again. Maybe next week I'll have two glasses of wine. I've got no idea. I'm just letting it unfold. But what came up for me when it came to alcohol, whenever I thought about what if I don't drink again, I thought about how will I interact with my friends? What will other people say about me? How will I relax? Um, Alcohol was really, and food and a lot of other things were my coping mechanisms, right? They made me feel good. It was my signal to myself that I was worthy. I've worked hard all day. I deserve that glass of wine, you know? I deserve to have fun with my friends. But actually, deserve what? Deserve not to feel good the next day? Deserve to feel lethargic? Deserve not to make very good decisions? Deserve to regret some of the conversations that I said? Like, do I really deserve that? Like, what is this link that I'm making? And really taking that step back and actually evaluating things from a place of, what if the second half of life looked differently? Like, what if I did things that I've never done before? Like, what if I just stopped drinking? How would that make me feel? What if I looked after my body a little bit more? Like, what if I took bold and brave action? What if I received on a different level? Like, I value life. I know you do. We share like the same fear, which is like, dying with regrets and leaving stuff on the table. But I want to experience everything in life, but that involves making different choices. It involves doing different things, but that's actually quite hard to do as an adult. Like even I'm 40, God, I can't even remember what age I am. I'm 41. And it's mad that even as an adult, I find that quite terrifying, to like take that step away and that fear of other people's opinions. That it didn't catch me by surprise, but in a way it did. That actually, that fear of not belonging and not being accepted was so, so prominent that it was driving a lot of behaviors that actually intuitively I knew that's not really me anymore.
I love that, Sarah, and thank you for sharing. A question for you on that then. What do you think it took for you to actually step into that and go, I don't want that anymore. I'm just gonna, like, was there a build up to it? Like, because for me, like I think similar to yourself, I definitely, well, you've not had alcohol for 3 months. I've had a little bit on holiday and stuff. And the problem with me, Sarah, is I love the taste of wine. I love a nice bottle of wine. I love the taste of it. And I loved an Aperol Spritz, but the thing with me is it never impacted me before, but similar to yourself, I would start to feel a bit funny in the morning. And I think as more I've done my own work on myself and as we've been building IPA, that has been a lot for us to hold. And I think naturally for me, it's starting to just evolve that it doesn't resonate so much anymore and it's just going to naturally unfold. So for you, my question is, was there a point, was there something that led to that moment where you were like, no, it's just not going to work for me anymore?
She loves herself with Jill Ritchie.
Hey everyone, I am quickly interrupting this episode to tell you how you can win a £10,000 giveaway with the Intuitive Psychology Association and She Loves Herself podcast. To celebrate season 10X, we are giving away a fully funded place training with the Intuitive Psychology Association this October, which means your fees are fully funded on us. So if you have ever thought about training with the Intuitive Psychology Association, if you would like to up level, upskill and become an intuitive psychology coach with us, which means you are fully accredited to the top level of coaching, then this is the competition for you. All you need to do is make sure that you head over to Instagram to follow both She Loves Herself, the podcast, and the Intuitive Psychology Association. You need to like the post, you need to tag 2 of your friends and share it across your social media platform. If you would like 10 additional entries, so 10 times the opportunity to win this prize, all you need to do is leave a 5-star review on this episode. Good luck.
Yeah, I think there was one turning point where me and my husband had like dinner, shared a bottle and a half of wine, and maybe a little glass of prosecco in between. Um, over the space of a night, but I definitely felt like quite tipsy, going to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, it wasn't, I just didn't feel good. And this had been building up for a while for me. We had talked about it before. I was noticing, and I know from, what you shared as well, it resonates. Like even a glass of wine was kind of having an impact. It felt like something I should be doing, like I deserve it. Like this is my way to relax. It's my way to connect, like alcohol kind of romanticizes things in a way. Like, if you just sit down and watch TV at night, you just sit down and watch TV. But all of a sudden, if you're like, oh, we just shared a little bottle of wine and we put on the TV and watched a program, it sounds way more interesting. So I think I had all of that, but I just woke up and I was like, I think I'm done. Like, I know this. I know this story. Um, I've had this story for 20 plus years, for as long as alcohol's been in my life, where, I have a drink, I enjoy it. Sometimes I enjoy it a bit too much to excess. I know how it makes me feel. I know when I have too much of it, how it makes me feel. I know even now when I have a glass of it, and it just felt like there's nothing new here. There is nothing new to be gained. Nothing. I know this story. I could write the playbook on a night out. I could write the playbook on a drunken kind of evening. I could write the playbook on a catch up with friends over wine. I know it. I don't want a familiar past. I want a new future and I want to feel good. I want vitality and I want to step into my potential. And can I really step into my full potential with this? Like right now it doesn't feel aligned, and I'm not here to make, big kind of sweeping judgments. Like I don't know what that will look like in a year's time. Like I really, really don't. But I do know that I'm enjoying not having it. And I do know that a lot of the ritualistic experiences, like, when I've been at Glastonbury or when on the rare occasions that we've had good weather, I'll have like an alcohol-free beer and I have that same experience. So for me, a lot of kind of questioning like, why did I do that? And why did I have it? And did I even really need that like one glass, two glasses? Why did I kind of like say I was only going to have two glasses and now I've had three and I feel like, like tired the next day? so much of it was just the ritual. It was the opening of the wine, it was the sitting down, it was the connection. And actually, it's just a liquid, and I can do all that without it. Like, that's what we're really talking about. But so much of what we grow up in society, especially Irish and Scots, are kind of similar. Alcohol is fused in with like what we do and how we celebrate, and even how we are advertised to, and it's just watch an alcoholic advert. It's about people having fun, it's about being people connecting. So, of course, whenever you step away from that, you fear that that's what you're going to lose. And I still fear that to a certain extent. I don't know. I'm planning things, in a few months ahead with like friends, and with those friends, that would have been what we did. We would go away for the weekend, we'd have dinner and drinks, and that's our connection. I don't know what that looks like, but actually maybe it's new and maybe it's better. Or maybe it's not. I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. Like, I do not want to miss a blink of an eye of life. Like, I don't want to. I want to leave nothing on the table. I want every experience. I want to live, and I want to live in a way that is authentic for me. And I don't know about you, but I used to think, oh, I change a lot. And even amongst my friendship, because we're like, what are you on to next? Like, you're always doing something different. And I used to think that was a bad thing. Like, I didn't know myself. And actually, I want to be that person that evolves. Like, I don't want to stay the same. I don't want to
No,
stay the same.
why would you? Why would you want to stay the same? I mean, when I've talked about it at the start, when I was like 22, I'm so different from that
Yeah.
person. Like, I'm different from the person I was 2 years ago, 6 years ago, because things happen in life. It'll be coming up in September to 2 years since my mum died. That massively changed
Mhm.
me and made me really look at life a little bit differently. And I think sometimes we just get so caught up in the BS, like what people think, what we're supposed to do. And you know what? That's saying you do you. Like, just you do you.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to this, like some of this might resonate, some of it might not, but really just be honest with yourself. And I think that's a question to ask you. Am I being honest with myself? Like, am
Hmm.
I really being honest with myself? Because a lot of the time we use things like food, alcohol, and this isn't to shame anyone, because I know that people be like, even people that maybe know me will roll their eyes, oh no, what you know that. The thing is, it's not to shame anyone, it's me doing me, and it's you
Yeah.
doing that. And it's like, I always said, when I was sort of growing up, I mean, I had alcohol from the age of like 13,
Oh
14.
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like, I used to drink cider because that's what people did and do you know
I'd
what? See
sneak my
that
mum's vodka from the bottom and fill it up with water.
so did me. So did me. Do you know what? I don't regret any of it. I honestly had the best girls'
Yeah.
holidays, fun, laughter. But what it does is it takes me back to the more conscious I've become,
Hmm.
the more vibrationally alcohol on a vibrational level doesn't resonate. In
Yeah.
fact, it's like repugnant, like it's like an allergic reaction. I'm not sick or anything with it, like an allergic reaction, but it's like everything in my body goes eh. And I always said, because I never used to get hangovers, I mean, I would go out with friends drinking,
Same.
and then I would go and do a spin class at like 7 in the morning, and my friends used to be like puking up and being like, "How can you do that?" I was like, "I don't get hangovers, never got the fear." I get more of that now in my 40s, like fearful feelings or oh, and it's always the first 15 minutes of waking up in the morning, and then it passes. But regardless of if I've had two or a bottle, that's what I
Hmm.
started to feel like. And I always said to myself, if I felt shit with drink, I wouldn't drink, because to me there's no fun in that. That's all right. Like, I never used to get hangovers, never got the fear, felt great, neither up nor down. That, through going on this journey over the past 6 years, has slowly and much more recently not agreed with me as much on an emotional level. And if something makes me feel like shit, why would I do it? I
Yeah.
always like that. And I think for anyone, like, let it naturally evolve, but just notice why we do it. A lot of the time it's a coping mechanism, and it's
Well, yeah.
celebrated as well. It's
And I was,
celebrated.
yeah, and it's interesting that you say, like makes you feel like shit. Why would I do it? And actually, that's why I did it. And this may seem a little bit like a strange thing to say, but as I've kind of done a lot of work on like my self-worth, and worthiness, and, have carved out, professionally and kind of personally, amazing things. Actually, the easiest way to bring myself down into the vibration and into the emotion that ultimately I feel safe and addicted to, which is I'm not good enough, I need to work harder on myself, is to eat crap and to drink alcohol. Because that is a surefire way to bring me back into that past programming. That's why we do it, because we're addicted to the feeling of, I'm a piece of shit and I'm not good enough. For me, that's how it looked. For me, to kind of like have the whatever food, and to eat what I want. It was like, well, I can do whatever I want and I deserve it and I'm just going to have it, and like, why not? And I'll have that second glass of wine because, I'm worth it and life's too short and I've worked hard all week, all of that. And actually, I guarantee the minute that that experience was over, the initial pleasure and high from it, whether it was like having a glass of wine, whether it was like eating whatever, um, was shortly followed by, why did I do that? I don't feel good, guilt, shame, blah, 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 blah. And actually, the minute that I stopped that, it stopped that feeling, like it stopped the war within myself. And I think the reason, you know, why I stopped, and it took me a while, was I had to work with a lot of shadow. It was definitely in my subconscious, unconscious for me, because consciously I wanted to make that change, but I would still find myself, I'll just open the fridge and I'll just have that, or I've had a really long day, so I'll just stick on the quick unhealthy thing rather than maybe take an extra 5 minutes to nourish my body. And for me now, they're acts of self-worth. Like that is my sign and my way of going, you get to have an amazing business with a beautiful human being like you, and to co-create this with students who share a same mission, to do work that you love, to live a life that you love, and you get to feel good about it rather than self-sabotaging that through unhelpful behaviors that once served me. I don't know. This is a weird thing to say, but I don't know if I'd had any mates without alcohol. It was like the perfect socializer for me. Like I was a bit, awkward kind of at school sometimes, and you know, a few drinks and everybody bonding over it. Like I am grateful for that. But I right now it doesn't serve me. Maybe that will change, but right now, at this midpoint, kind of like crisis point, I'm really starting to question things, and I'm starting to look at what is serving me and what isn't. Because, oh my goodness, like you said, you look back and you think like, I've been with my husband, together, it'll be 20 years next year. Like, I can't believe that we have been together 20 years. That feels, I can remember the first date kind of like vividly, like it was yesterday. I'm going to blink again, and life moves faster, as you get older as well.
Oh,
Time travels
yeah.
differently. I'm going to blink again and I'll be 61. Like, and that's not old, in like today's terms, like you've still
But
got a lot of life. But
it's not all
but it goes quick, and I want to make the most out of it. And then if you're listening to this and maybe you're starting to think, you know, maybe your job doesn't serve you, maybe you're thinking, do I really want to hack it out until retirement age before I live my life? Do you really want to do that? Maybe some behaviors aren't serving you, some of the ones that we've talked about, maybe friendships aren't serving you, maybe relationships aren't serving you. Like, let this be your call, that you haven't done anything wrong, that it's okay to change, and that it's okay to change your mind and go, actually, I don't want to do that. And to choose that authenticity over attachment. What are you connecting to those behaviors? What need do those behaviors meet that you need to meet for yourself? For me, those behaviors met the need of love, belonging, and acceptance. How do I make myself feel accepted enough within myself to say, no, I don't want to do that, and still feel like I deserve to belong?
Yeah, I love that, Sarah. How do you become brave enough just to say no? And do you know what? I have this saying, some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. There will be people that don't like it. There will be people
Yeah.
that judge you, people that try and shame you. That say that's weird. What are you doing? Why would you leave that job? Why are you doing that? And do you know what? I have this other saying. You'll never be criticised by someone doing more than you. and
Mm-hmm.
often trigger people when we are doing something that they in themselves would like to do, and they feel like they can't,
Oh, totally.
even though they can't, and the jealousy comes out and the venom comes out and they throw things at you and to shame you. But this is not a reflection on you, and you don't owe anyone anything. And I really mean that. And that might throw people because they're like, oh yeah, it's not true. Based on what? Based on what you've been told your whole life, that you owe people things. This is your life. This is your turn, right? That doesn't mean that you go about being selfish and that you treat people like shit. It doesn't mean that, but you owe yourself first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost for anyone else. You owe yourself, because if you are not living in your truth and leaning into your beautiful, authentic self, then you're not really living. Like, you might be pleasing other people, but they like a false version of you. They
Yeah.
like a false version of you. They might be quite happy, but meanwhile, you're depleted and you're left unfulfilled and feeling like you are completely lost and out of alignment. And I know so many people when I've spoken at events and I've said, raise your hand if you feel like you should be happy, but there's something missing. Everybody puts their hand up in the room
Yeah.
because, as you said, Sarah, so beautifully, we choose attachment
Attachment.
over authenticity. So how do we unlearn it? Like, Sarah, let's wrap this up with even a key takeaway for someone that's maybe in that place right now. There's like, yeah, I'm so there with you. I'm resonating with it. What's the first thing I should do? What is the first step that you think someone should take?
I think the first thing is, I'm going to use an example from like Maslow, who was a very famous psychologist, and he would run these experiments with his students where he would ask them to really just tune into how they felt in certain circumstances, not how they think they should feel or what they think they should, but how does it actually make you feel? And actually, one of his experiments was with alcohol, where he would say to them, have the glass of wine, but like don't look at how fancy the bottle was or the gold labels, and just really ask yourself, how does that taste? Maybe not the best example if you want to give up alcohol, but tune in to how does this actually make me feel? Not the story that you tell yourself. So unravel it. So for me, um, my stories would have tried to override the feeling of like, but it's okay, I only had one glass and everybody has a glass of wine and it's all right. That doesn't matter. Everyone does only have, it doesn't matter what you drink. How did it make me feel? Even after one or two glasses of wine, it didn't make me feel good. That was my truth and that was my reality. So tune into, how does your job really make you feel? How does that relationship really make you feel in your body? And if you can, even just close down your eyes, like find that center place, put your hand over your heart and bring that kind of visually into your consciousness as if it was there. Okay, I'm in that job. I'm behind my desk. I'm there. How does that really make me feel? I'm in that relationship. I'm with that friend, the morning after, having a couple of glasses of wine. How does that really make me feel? And then afterwards, invite in, what happens if I change? This is one of our favorite IPA questions. Okay, what happens if I do make that change? What happens if I leave that job? What happens if I have the courage to ask my partner, for what I want or what I need? What happens if I go, do you know what? I'm not going to drink, or I'm going to cut it down, or I'm going to exercise, whatever it is for you. What happens if I do that? And then what happens if I don't? And keeping your eyes closed that whole time and allowing your consciousness and your body and your mind to energetically run through that. The answer will reveal itself. We're not here to say what's right. Like Jill, you say this all the time. Like, your way is the right way. It is. Like right now, my right way is, I don't want to have a drink. I'm not saying no one ever drink. I'm not shaming anybody that has a drink. Like, you can do whatever you want. If that works for you and that serves you, brilliant, absolutely great. But how does it make you feel? Like, and whatever that makes you feel, does it enhance your experience or does it detract from your experience? Is it meeting another need, or are you kind of like outsourcing that to gratify yourself? And get radically honest with yourself and where you're at right now. And that's where change comes, is being true to yourself. Like, true to me looks like, I don't really enjoy having a drink right now, so I'm not going to do it.
I love that, Sarah. And for me, I think it's a habit a lot of the time. What we've
Hmm.
done It's through habit. We get up, we go to the place, we're with the person because it's a habit. We drink because it's a habit. We eat because it's a habit. We're not really intuitively tuned into ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think when you do this work that we do and that we train in, when you really do the work, you're not playing at it, you become so connected to yourself that you're not so much operating from the habitual place. And actually, when you do, you notice it and you catch it quickly. And actually, you can look at alternatives. Well, actually, what needs to be met here? What am I looking for right now? How can I meet that need without finding it in alcohol, without finding it in the junk food, without finding it on whatever it is, sex, TV, whatever that is, that gives me a short burst, but then makes me feel like dog turd the next day. What is the unmet need? And we train in this, like the unmet need, right?
Yeah.
It's not about like what's the root cause, what is the unmet need? Because when you can get to the unmet need, poof, that's the
Yeah.
magic. Because suddenly you're like, actually, the unmet need is this. Where I can get that from is this. And you see this whole world very, very differently. And suddenly those things that are low vibrational no longer resonate with you as a high vibrational individual. Because if you're high vibe, and I mean, not just high vibe as
Yeah.
in, hey, I'm high vibe. Like if you're high vibrational, you cannot work with low vibrational things because it is
No.
like, it just doesn't work. It's like trying to tune in a frequency of a radio station to something else and it just won't connect. It's just, that's why when you drink alcohol, Sarah, because you're on a different vibrational level now, alcohol is such a low vibration that it's just like clashing. It's just like, boom, yuck.
Absolutely. Like I
That,
love that study that you share. I think it's in one of our master classes where they did a study, and I think this is right, isn't it? Like authenticity was the highest vibration. So when when you talk about like high vibe, like high vibration is you in your full authenticity, and when we drink alcohol or when we sacrifice kind of ourselves, we choose that attachment over authenticity. Like we're not being our authentic selves, so we're not in that vibrational level, we're kind of like we're shaping and molding ourselves into something that we feel like we need to be in order to be accepted. And I think it's that call, isn't it? Like, do I really like this? Is this really what I want to do? Is this authentically aligned to me right now? It's okay to change. Doesn't that like the authentic me when I was like 18, 100% was aligned with alcohol. It was great, like it was brilliant. The evolved me now, it's not authentically aligned. And you're so right. You operate at a different level. And that's when you feel the change, right? That's when you have that heaviness, that emptiness, that intuitive feeling of this doesn't feel quite right, but maybe I don't know why, because it once was okay and now it's not.
that's the thing. It once was okay, and it's okay to change. And the more that you open, expand, evolve, work with consciousness, work with your shadow, heal your shame, you no longer need to numb out that shame
Hmm.
because you've accepted it, you've accepted yourself, you're able to stand in your true authentic self, warts and all, pain and all, shame and all of it, and hold it and be like, yeah, I did that, but I don't need to numb out anymore. And you have the most conscious relationships because so
Hmm.
many relationships were unconscious because they were based on numbing out and coping mechanisms. And that, again, that's not to shame anyone. It's part of life. It's evolution. And it's like, are you at this midpoint in your life going to choose? Are you going to answer the call to work and become more conscious, more alive, more free, more expressed? Or are you going to do what you've always done? And if that works for you, brilliant, right? Because
Hmm.
it works for so many people, great. But what we're doing right now, Sarah, is we're talking to the people that are feeling misaligned. We're talking
Yeah.
to the people that are going to that job every day. We're talking to the people that aren't connected to their business. We're talking to the people that aren't really stepping into their power. We're talking to people that are in the relationship that isn't serving them. That's the people that we're talking to right now. So if this is you, just know that do not let the forest overwhelm you. Do not let the entirety of what you think you need to do overwhelm you. Just keep returning to self. As Sarah said, drop into the body, feel your body. Your body knows, your body will
Hmm.
see you. It doesn't lie to you. Your mind will lie all day long. Spend time in meditation. Spend time in silence. Spend time in nature. Connect to nature. Connect to your intuition. Connect to your heart space. even for a few minutes each day, and over time, that trust starts to form within yourself, and you start to trust your gut, you trust your intuition. You're like, I don't know why, I just don't want to do that. And that's okay. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to justify it. But if you're disconnected from yourself, you will feel like you don't trust yourself. So when someone presses your button, or when someone challenges you on something, or calls you out, or calls you weird, you'll conform, because you're not connected enough to yourself. And my advice, if you're at that point right now, really connect into yourself. We have a beautiful free future self visualization, and I'm going to drop the link for that, because it's a short 10-minute IPA future self visualization, and there's some embedded commands in there, and the way we teach it with an IPA, and it's free for you if you want to listen to it, is just drop in, do that every day for 21 days. I promise you, your life will look and feel very, very different. Everyone has 10 minutes a day. I'll drop that link, Sarah, because I think that would be a really good one for people.
Yeah, that'd be a great one.
Amazing. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. We hope that this resonated, and we would love you to share it with anyone that you think that needs to hear this right now. Yeah, amazing, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.